Horror is not something I've talked about a lot on my channel. Despite my love for all things horror, from movies, literature, and especially games, I just haven't really brought it up a lot. Whenever I have brought up horror on this channel, it's really only been about Five Nights at Freddy's, and even then it's just playing through the games. However, I've been wanting to explore more routes of horror to put on this channel, from ranking horror movies to my movie reviews and other projects. This video is a full-on passion project about one of my favorite games of all time, a little-known horror game called Slender The Arrival. Now, before we get into Slender The Arrival, I want to give you all a brief introduction to the character and origins of Slenderman. Now, this is pretty old. This was all the way back in 2009, so if you already know the history and lore behind Slenderman, skip to this timestamp to hear me talk about the game itself. So back in 2009, a website known as Something Awful Forums hosted a contest where users were asked to submit a creepy photo or paranormal story. Now, this contest was really about like Photoshop and more imaginative stuff than just being like, oh, here's a photo of my forest. The whole goal was to Photoshop something creepy into it. A user by the name of Eric Knudsen decided to Photoshop an image of children in black and white photos. At first, users were perplexed by these photos and why they were submitted. However, when taking a closer look at the images, users noticed a tall, thin, faceless man dressed in suit and tie lingered in the background. This was our first ever introduction to the infamous Slenderman himself. The main appeal of Slenderman was that his whole motive was haunting, traumatizing, or kidnapping his victims, mainly children. In these photos that Eric submitted, it was implied that a lot of these children had gone missing, and the mysterious figure in these photos had something to do with them. After all that, Slenderman took off in the pop culture sphere. Games, fan fictions, fan art, even a movie was made about this character. The most well-known piece of Slenderman media, though, was probably released in 2012, developed by Mark Hadley and Blue Isle Studios. It was a game called Slender The 8 Pages. In this game, the player needed to walk around a forest at night with nothing but a flashlight to find 8 pages scattered around with drawings on them. The pages would be scattered around different landmarks, and as you collected more pages, Slenderman became more aggressive. He would be more visible to you, teleport closer to you, and overall be more tricky to avoid. And if you weren't careful enough, his static would envelop you and you would just see the static along with flashes of his face before a game over screen. This game completely took off on the internet. Content creators like Markiplier and PewDiePie played this game and brought more attention to the larger Slenderman mythos, basically growing this creature, this thing, into something beyond what anyone could ever think of. With this popularity, many knockoff games and quote-unquote sequels would be made to capitalize on this success. But while this doesn't really relate to the games, another piece of Slenderman media I want to bring light is a channel that went by the name of Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets was a found footage style horror channel that featured lots of creepy and scary content. One of the things in these videos was a character that they titled The Operator, which they claim isn't Slenderman, but come on, look at the two. It's the same character. Now, this version of Slenderman is missing two key details: tentacles and proxies. Now, with all this success, Slenderman was looking to join the big leagues like Outlast, FNAF, Bendy, and many more indie games, indie monsters, but unfortunately something happened that changed the course and outlook of Slenderman. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear me talk about a real life stabbing, but here we go. On May 31st, 2014, two girls convinced their classmate to follow them out into the woods. There, they tried to stab and kill her under the reasoning that they had been contacted by Slenderman to do it for him. Fortunately, the victim survived the stabbing and went on to fully recover. The two girls were tried and convicted for the stabbing, were eventually sentenced to a mental institute where they are recovering from whatever psychosis convinced them to carry out this act. After this, not a lot of people wanted to associate with Slenderman anymore. Parents would obviously not let their kids interact with something like this, and a lot of the other horror-related content coming out around 2015 was just surpassing what Slenderman had to offer. He started to fade from pop culture very quickly, and I think that Slenderman just became too popular for its own good that it just led to a gradual decline in interest after 5 years. In 2018, there was also a film about Slenderman, like I said, but it was so poorly received that it set the character back even further in the cultural sphere until no one wanted anything to do with him. And for 5 more years, Slenderman sat dormant, waiting for any piece of media to bring him back into some kind of relevancy. And that's what happened. In 2023, Blue Isle Studios announced and released a remaster of their hit game, Slender The Arrival. This one included a graphical update, new content including bonus levels, mod support, multiplayer, and a VR mode that's releasing this year in 2025. Now, with all that backstory out of the way, let's finally get into one of, if not my favorite horror game ever, Slender The Arrival. So for a brief game synopsis for anyone who doesn't know, in 2013, Blue Isle Studios released a Slenderman game called Slender The Arrival. In this game, you play as a character named Lauren, who is investigating the disappearance of her friend Kate. While searching for any clues that could lead her to her whereabouts, Lauren discovers something much more frightening than she could have ever imagined. I've heard some complaints about this game, mainly its pacing, so I'm going to go through, level by level, describe what happens, the gameplay, the story updates, and get my overall thoughts on each level, starting with the prologue. Honestly, prologue has a lot more content than one would expect. For some reason, I always thought the prologue level ends after we leave Kate's backyard, and then we transition into Oakside Park. But going through this entire level, I find to be a very solid introduction that introduces a lot of the mechanics, characters, and style of gameplay we'll be seeing throughout the game. The game starts off by us getting out of our car. That would be impossible judging by the parking job, and we're met with a billboard advertising the sale of 20 acres of land and to contact someone by the name of Kate if we are interested. We will later learn that we were called here by Kate to help her with moving and for possibly another reason. As we walk down the path through this beautiful autumn forest, listening to this calming music, day slowly turns to night, and by the time we reach the house, the moon is well within the air, and we are enveloped by the darkness. As we go inside the house, we can notice something off in the distance, a missing poster for a boy named Charles Mason Jr. We collect the poster and keep it in the back of our mind as we slowly walk towards the house. Noticing a swing set out front, the player can choose to go on it, and we're met with the message that we used to go on there, Kate, when we were kids. This already gives us some backstory about the character we're playing as, and apparently they have a very long and deep connection with this Kate person. When we finally get inside of the house, we see that something bad happened here. Drawings and cryptic messages adorn the walls. Doors are left ajar, and the furniture looks like it was tossed around as if someone was looking for something in a hurry. We decide to scavenge the house, finding some letters and a phone message left for Kate by a person named CR. These letters tell us that the CR and Kate are reconnecting after being apart for some time. CR writes to Kate that out of nowhere he remembers a lot of things that they used to do as kids and hopes to hear back from Kate soon. Letter 2 tells us that Kate ended up calling CR and that they talked for a while. Apparently they had both started to experience similar hallucinations, about what isn't specified, but CR has a doctor's appointment and he'll try to bring it up there. After reading that and listening to the phone message, we find a flashlight laying around the house and decide to venture upstairs towards Kate's room to see if she could be in there. The door is unfortunately locked and we have to search the other rooms upstairs, which are admittedly neater than the first floor, and find it in the master bedroom. Opening Kate's door, however, we see that pages and messages and drawings are scattered across the floor and walls, along with some similar drawings and messages that we saw by the front door when we first entered the house. After looking around, our eyes are drawn to this red scribble of a tall man next to a cell phone tower with a message saying safety. Next to this, there's a broken window with what we assume to be the same tower in the distance. If you haven't seen him already, there's a chance when looking outside in the backyard you'll see him for the first time. Our first sighting of Slenderman. As we lock eyes with him, he glitches out our camera and disappears right before our very eyes. We decide that we have enough information about Kate's whereabouts to leave the house and begin our search for her. As we enter the backyard, we notice a letter with the number 3 on a playset. Reading this letter, we're told that CR has been having issues with his phone and PC. They both think that a certain nights in the woods that they had, and whatever happened there, is what's causing these hallucinations, and that they should ignore it. As we're leaving the backyard, we hear a girl scream in the distance, presumably Kate, and rush down the path to find the source of the screaming. After leaving the house, this part's very linear in the prologue as we just follow along a path, activating a few generators, and finding more clues as to what's causing all of this. The most eye-catching thing we can find at this part of the game is an article about an arson incident of a man whose house went up in flames, resulting in his death. The man was named Charles Mason, which players may remember as from the kid in the missing poster, Charlie Mason Jr., but this isn't him, this is his father. Later along the path, we can find the same house, and boy does this game let us know something sinister is happening here. Going inside, we are met with deafening silence broken by the soft sobs of a child. After searching the burnt home, we come across the child among the ashes and rubble, and upon approaching him, he gives us a jump scare and runs away to God knows where. Recovering from the scare and walking outside, we see new homes under construction and Slenderman sitting atop a hill, watching us. We continue our way up the path into the Oakside Park cabin, where we see a message telling Lauren to find someone, most likely Kate. This tells us that the person we're playing as is named Lauren and we're Kate's friend. And that's where level 1 ends. Honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by the prologue of this game. While not much happens, we already have set a great atmosphere with Slenderman working and watching us, and the clues and mysteries regarding Kate, CR, and the Mason family, and this weird goblin creature who decided to attack us in a burned down house. This is our first instance and encounter of what we will soon know as a proxy. A proxy is basically a victim of Slenderman who was infected and forced to do his bidding. So, at the end of each level, I'm also going to try to slowly piece together a story and tell it all at the end. So, here we go. So far, we know we're playing as a girl named Lauren who came to Kate's house in an attempt to either help sell it or help her with something else. By the time we get there, Kate is gone and the place is a mess. It seems like Kate got caught up in something with a person by the name of CR, and now they are both experiencing hauntings and visions from Slenderman due to either something that they saw they weren't supposed to see, or that they just happened to stumble upon him. We also know that 4 years ago, a man named Charles Mason was killed in a house fire, and he lost his son Charlie Jr. with his wife leaving him due to the inability for him to process the loss of their son. And now with Lauren here investigating Kate's disappearance and stumbling upon the Mason incident, it seems that she has unknowingly put herself in Slenderman's radar and is about to experience horrors beyond her comprehension. Now with all that out of the way, let's move on to level 2. Level 2 is probably my favorite level in the game. Taking a trip down memory lane, Blue Isle Studios decided to go back to their roots and make the second level of their game a revamped version of the 8 Pages game. This level is pretty simple to understand. After going inside of the Oakside Park grounds, Lauren needs to go around various landmarks and find 8 different marked pages to escape from Slenderman. The coolest thing I have to say about this level is that it's never the same. Every location and its placement is randomly generated every time you replay the level, so if you either die or exit the level, you can't just run back in knowing where everything is. Each page location, each point of interest, the placement of them all are random, and it's genuinely amazing level design that allows for so much replayability. Now the actual level is really understand. Go to each location around the Oakside campsite, find the 8 pages, and keep moving while avoiding Slenderman. As you collect more pages, Slenderman will become more aggressive. He will teleport directly in front of you or next to you. He gets faster, smarter, and scarier. Another thing I didn't realize is that instead of just teleporting around you, Slenderman would slowly move closer to you from his original location until he decides to teleport somewhere else if you get too far. So there were times when I was playing this game that I'd run away only to turn around and he'd be right there, sending chills down my spine. After collecting all 8 pages, Slenderman will be right behind you and you'll have to start running while being teleported around random locations in the park until you eventually fall down a hill and the level ends. Unfortunately, there's no letters or story clues that spawn this level, so while there isn't much in terms of story, it's amazing from a gameplay standpoint. Like I brought up earlier, the randomly generated level design, page locations, and with how aggressive Slenderman's AI can become, I find it to be a perfect level within this game. It's a great callback as well to anyone who's played Blue Isle Studios' first Slenderman game, and with all the insanity and pages we saw from Kate's house, it's not far-fetched to assume that she put these pages up in an effort to lead CR or Lauren in the right direction to find her. Now with all that praise out of the way, let's get on to level 3. While it's hard to beat the 8 pages, Into the Abyss comes really close. This is the scariest level in the game for me, and solely because I have a phobia of dark enclosed spaces, and the mines capture that feeling completely. Before all that though, we start outside, waking up after taking a little tumble down the hill at the end of 8 pages, and we find ourselves in a sunny field. Walking around for a bit will reveal to us a giant tunnel leading into a mine shaft. Around that mine shaft is another missing poster about Charlie, some notes about the closure and weird events such as crying within the tunnels, and some more letters between Kate and CR. I'll go over these letters at the end of the level, but for right now, let's focus on the gameplay. Once we get into the mine, the scribbles on the wall make it very clear. We need to get the power on and leave. After turning on our first generator, we find that we're not alone down here. Some weird noises and a pair of footsteps that aren't ours introduce us to a new character I'm going to call the Chaser. The Chaser is a hooded figure that will chase you throughout the mines, along with Slenderman showing up and trying to block your path. This is another one of Slenderman's proxies, along with the malnourished boy we saw in level 1. The purpose of this level is that we need to activate 6 generators scattered throughout the mines in order to power a lift to escape. Like I said, this is a very scary level, especially when you also throw in the fact that Slenderman is also here. The randomness of Slenderman mixed with the very visible and constant threat of the Chaser scares the shit out of me. Imagine exploring dark caverns and you need to go into a room and activate a generator, but Slenderman is waiting right around the corner for you. Now, that'd be a quick scary jump scare on itself, but I've had multiple encounters where that has happened and I need to loop around the mines to draw Slenderman away, only to turn the corner and get jumped by the hoodie girl. Thankfully, there's a mechanic to stun the Chaser, and the stun mechanic is called a flashlight focus. You can right click your mouse to focus your flashlight into a smaller or more direct beam in order to blind the Chaser and buy yourself a bit of time to get away and replan your route. This level is great. It's scary, it's intense, and the overall design and variety has always left me wanting more of this level. I think my main complaint, and the only complaint I have about Into the Abyss, is that this level feels a little too forgiving. I guess the developers over at Blue Isle Studios thought that with the 2 threats, they need to give us more chances for survival so the Chaser can jump you multiple times before it will finally kill you. I kind of wish that the Chaser would just instantly kill you, and I'm pretty sure it does in hardcore mode, so I guess if I just want more of a challenge, I'll play hardcore mode. And thankfully, Slenderman also behaves the same from the previous level. And if I had another complaint as well, this one really isn't related to the level, but more the game as a whole. I don't like the fact that the Chaser just never shows up again. The Chaser was a really nice threat to deal with, and when paired with Slenderman, made for some dangerous scenarios where you could quickly get a game over if you're too focused on one or the other. But let's get into the letters we found. The new information we were given in the letters by CR and Kate, we can assume that their continuous encounters and haunting by Slenderman were due to them trying to get rid of him. Apparently, Kate and CR have been experiencing hallucinations and haunting for a while now, and CR's doctor stupidly suggested that he had to face them head on. So with that glorious advice, CR and Kate decide to go out to the woods behind Kate's house where they used to go when they were kids. CR thinks that by going out there and finding nothing will put their minds at ease and rid them of whatever they think they saw when they were younger. However, things don't really go according to plan. Apparently, CR confesses his feelings to Kate. She doesn't feel the same. They get into an argument and split up. This causes CR to get lost in the woods, and he falls down a hill, which sounds similar to what happened to us at the end of 8 Pages. He says that he heard screaming that sounded like Kate, but before he could do anything, he passed out. When he woke back up, he went back into Kate's house and just found her inside watching TV. And when she didn't notice him, he went home. The final note of level 3 is really weird though. It's a written note instead of a fax letter that is CR telling Kate to go out into the woods because it's so beautiful. It's really weird, and I'm assuming Kate followed this advice because, well, let's think about it. She's disappeared and Slenderman's haunting us. Honestly, the story is probably my favorite part of Slender The Arrival. I like how much depth and backstory they try to give and explain Slenderman's like mythos and hauntings way better than whatever the movie tried to do. And I'm really interested in CR and Kate and to see why CR is trying to lure Kate out into the woods. And I think that's everything for Into the Abyss. So let's continue our journey on to the tower with level 4. Level 4 is titled Memories. And with memories, we actually don't start within a memory or a flashback. After escaping through the mines, we walk around the forest for a while, getting closer to the tower. We can find more artifacts and letters around, but nothing really of note happens until we find a teddy bear with the name Charlie scribbled onto its belly. Interacting with this teddy bear sends us into the reason for this level. We suddenly find ourselves on a beach playing as a young boy. We hear our mother call out to us that lunch is almost ready, Charlie. This name drop instantly tells us that we're playing as the missing boy, Charlie. But let's get through the level before we get with the story. Charlie notices something out of the corner of his eye, a part of a toy train. Picking this up reveals another part of that same toy train and slowly leads him away from his parents into the woods like a trail of breadcrumbs. Eventually, Charlie's parents realize that their son is gone and begin to call out to him in an effort to locate where he might have run off to. Unfortunately, Charlie is too deep in the woods and unable to get back to his parents. He begins to make his way through the dark forest, now coated in a blue mist, in an effort to make his way back, but every way he goes is a dead end. Suddenly, tentacles begin to surround Charlie, and he desperately screams to his parents, hoping they can save him. But as he is engulfed by the tentacles, the last thing he hears is the sound of his father screaming his name, hoping for a response. This level is really depressing for me, if I'm being honest. Knowing what's to come and that there's nothing we can do to save Charlie because the story dictates that he's already missing, it reminds me a lot of the 8-bit FNAF minigames where we watch William commit the MCI while all we can do is just stand around and let it happen. While I'm not the biggest fan of flashback levels in games, this level is amazing. We learned everything we need to know about Charlie and his family, and I think it's safe to say that the weird creature we saw in the prologue is Charlie, a young boy taken by Slenderman and turned into a proxy. After the flashback, we continue our way through the forest and mountains and a cave until we stumble across a small shed. Going inside, we can find a letter from CR, again, and 2 VHS tapes along with a VCR. These 2 tapes send us into the next 2 levels, and this is where I'm going to ending level 4. Honestly, memory is in a weird spot for me. I like this level for the amount of story progression and the fact we learn more about Charlie, but the gameplay is just walking through the woods. There's no threats or interesting events happening besides the end, where we run around and wait for Slenderman's tentacles to take Charlie away and turn him into a proxy. This level is basically the opposite of the 8 pages for me, but where I'm okay with the gameplay taking over the story, I wish there was something else going on in Memories. The story, however, is getting crazy. By the end of level 4, we find a total of 4 letters. So starting with letter 8, we're told that CR has tried and failed to get in touch with Kate multiple times. So that means I'm assuming Kate listened to letter 7 and went into the woods thinking it was from CR, but has gone missing ever since. Being concerned, CR goes over to Kate's house in an attempt to talk to her face to face. In letter 9, we find out that Kate was apparently asleep, so CR left this letter telling Kate that he found her in the park behind her house with a broken camcorder and a bunch of drawings, which leads me to believe that she had her own 8 pages experience with Slenderman herself, but because she may have failed, she's now in the hospital under the care of doctors. Letter 10 follows up with Kate, now discharged from the hospital, but neither herself nor CR feel safe in their own homes anymore, so they plan on going somewhere CR thinks is safe. I'm assuming he's talking about the tower that Kate's bedroom had a drawing on in the prologue. Letter 11 is really interesting because it's another handwritten note with no signature, but it's probably from CR as it reads, "Outside. I need to die before it catches me. I'm sorry for any part of this that is my fault. Everything is leaking out of the back of my head. Hands have teeth. Please tell no one I love them. It's back now. Hide." Now, the reason I think this is the case will come in the level Arrival, but because CR has been on edge in all of his letters with the hallucinations and being haunted by Slenderman, he might also be aware of the concept of proxies and would rather die instead of becoming one. And that's all the letters and lore we have for Memories, so let's get into more flashbacks from CR and Kate, starting with Escape. Not to start off negative, but Escape is my least favorite level of the game. Like the other flashback levels, it technically does give us further insight to the past of a character we are unsure of, but unlike Memories and the upcoming level Homestead, this level is so short and pointless that I wonder why it was even included. This entire level just has us place Kate and shows us her encounter with Slenderman at her house before she jumps out of a window and runs off into the woods. The reason I say this is pointless is because having us play through an environment we've already experienced with enough story clues and visual storytelling and environmental storytelling that we're able to just predict what happens, I just don't see the point in playing it and confirming something literally everyone already knew. Everyone already knew Kate probably jumped out of the window. Everyone probably knew Slenderman caused her to run away. Everyone knew Slenderman was behind this. So I really don't think we need to see it, but at least they give us an objective. We need to go around the house during a storm, closing doors and windows. As the level progresses, the wind goes stronger, and the rain becomes deafening, and the objects like the piano and radio begin to play themselves, creating an overwhelming sensation before we run into our room and see that Slenderman is there waiting for us. Then the level ends. No new story information that we didn't already speculate, and nothing really worth writing home about with the gameplay either. It just shows us that, hey, here's an on-screen instance of Kate going crazy and what happened to her at the start of the game when she screamed. So yeah, least favorite level by default. Not going to call it bad because, at least we have an objective, unlike Memories. So let's go on to the other VHS tape, Homestead. Homestead has us playing as CR, who we finally learn has the full name Carl Ross. He begins by introducing himself as an investigator regarding the disappearance of Charlie Mason Jr. and has arrived at the Mason family homestead. As he's walking around, he finds some drawings and pictures that tell us a bit more about the family. We find a drawing from Charlie depicting a group of people with Slenderman surrounded by fire. Another image shows us a large group of the extended Mason family and with another family going by the name of Hayes. Now, I didn't bring this up earlier, but this isn't the first time we actually see the last name Hayes We saw a memorial service pamphlet in Kate's home for a woman by the name of Beth Hayes. This could be used to connect Kate to the Hayes family, with Beth being her mother. At the grain silo, CR stumbles upon a generator needing gas. He goes inside the family home thinking he may find a gas canister in there, but only stumbles across a letter written by a child talking about playing a game of hide and seek in the cellar while telling them that they shouldn't tell another kid about it. Now CR doesn't think much of this, but when he reads that the place smells of petroleum, he instantly realizes he can find gas in the cellar and makes his way over there. The cellar is a nightmare to get through, and this place actually scares me. The lights are dim and constantly flickering on and off, and throughout it all, Charlie pops up, runs around giving you a good scare if you're not careful enough. Once you grab the gas can and make your way back outside, you can power on the silo and make your way through it to find a burned down building and a key for a gate. As CR makes his way through the field, he realizes that the creature he saw in the basement has begun chasing him, and he quickly opens up the gate to the church and locks himself inside the chapel. Inside, he has a quick encounter with Slenderman after finding some children's toys and a book of stories. One of these children's toys are a toy train eerily similar to the one we saw from Charlie's flashbacks. As CR goes to pick it up, an angered Charlie bursts through the door and begins chasing him. CR runs as fast as he can to get to the family home and get inside the attic. He's safe for there in a moment and finds some documents and letters that give us evidence of Slenderman being a generational figure that has been haunting the Mason family for decades due to a summoning. After finding this and leaving, Charlie bursts through the front door and chases CR to his car. Unfortunately, CR drops his camcorder, and right before the feed cuts out, an unknown figure picks up the camera and static. And that's the end of Homestead. This is probably my third favorite level in the game because of how it balances the gameplay with the story. The various locations and set pieces combined with the fetch quest style gameplay is great for having us naturally find out more regarding the Mason family and learning that someone in the Mason family spanning back generations ultimately led to Charlie's disappearance, and the proxification was a great revelation. Now, with everything out of the way, we near the end as we talk about the final level. The final level of the main game has a pretty fitting title. The Arrival starts off similar to Memories, with us finding a few letters and memorabilia and having us enter a cave. Inside the cave we see lots of scribbles and messages scrawled across the wall telling us to kill it with fire. Ironically, as we leave the cave, our screen begins to turn red and it's revealed that the forest around us has caught on fire and we have to make a mad dash to the radio tower to try and find Kate and CR. As we make our way through the flames, we keep having our way blocked by falling trees, walls of fire, and Slenderman in an attempt to turn us into one of his new proxies. Now I say this with certainty because in this level, he uses the same tentacles he used on Charlie back in the Memories level. After making it through the fire, we enter the radio tower and the doors lock behind us. We find a key laying around and continue our way further into the building, but something is inside with us, Charlie. We run through the darkness, our way only being lit by random fires in the corners until we lock ourselves in the last room. At the end of the hallway, there's a body, burnt with a camcorder sitting next to it. Listening to it gives us a message from Kate and CR. It seems that after Kate and CR made it to the tower, CR wanted to kill himself by fire to prevent himself from becoming a proxy. However, Kate didn't want to and ended up running away as we listen to CR's final moments being recorded as his screams fill the room. After the audio ends, the fire on the other side of the room goes out, and we get charged and knocked out by Charlie. The next thing that happens is we're taken into a basement where Charlie is guarding the steps. Inside, we find two collectibles that talk about CR trying to be an investigator to Charles Mason towards his son's steps, towards his son's disappearance, but he doesn't want it. And another one that's just a picture of a house. After this, we can exit the basement where we hear more crying, but this time it isn't Charlie, but a girl. It's Kate. When we approach Kate though, she turns into the chaser, revealing that she was already taken and turned into one of Slender's proxies. And the whole time we were just being led on a wild goose chase to become another missing person. The game ends with the camcorder on the floor, its final moments before cutting out, seeing our feet dragged away by Kate. And that's the end of the game. We're left on a cliffhanger with only our imagination to fill in the ambiguous ending. Letter 12 just says the house had to go. You can't say me anymore. And this relates to an earlier letter CR wrote to Kate about how he didn't feel safe in his house and how he's going to come get her and they were going to go somewhere safe together. Letter 13 says meet me by the street in an hour. Left a list of things to bring with you. Leave everything else behind. I'll explain everything as soon as I see you. I know how to fix all of this. Don't tell Lauren about me. Now this is a big letter that reveals a lot to us. Starting with the easy stuff, we know CR and Kate left the house, or rather CR came to get Kate, because we see the list of stuff on the whiteboard pinned to the fridge in the prologue. Now for the big reveal, Lauren didn't even know about CR implies a lot. It implies that not only did Lauren not know about all this, but she was truly just an innocent bystander wrapped up in all of this hauntings and creepy shit. And with those being all the letters in the game, let's get on to the bonus levels. Genesis is unlocked immediately after you beat the main game. Now some people may recognize the goal and layout of this level as being a full one-to-one updated version of the Slender 8 Pages game. I know I said earlier that 8 Pages was the 8 Pages level was Blue Isle Studios' remake of the 8 Pages game. But I guess they decided they just want to put their old game into a bonus level, which I think is really cool. Playing this level is honestly a lot of fun and feels just like the original game, only with better looking graphics. Just go around the forest, find the 8 pages, and you win. You also get an achievement if you beat the game in under 5 minutes. But there's actually something big here. When you beat the level, you actually get a message from Slenderman telling you that he has plans for you and to reveal that you're actually playing as Kate. That's right. The seemingly bonus level is actually a prequel to the entire game, explaining Kate's fatal encounter with Slenderman, how CR found her with the broken camcorder and backpack full of drawings, and why her house is covered in those drawings and messages we see in the main game. Kate was the original protagonist of Slender the 8 Pages. Now, let's get on to the glitch level, and this one confuses me. The glitch level, I don't know what's up with this, and to access the level entirely depends on what version of the game you're playing. In the old version, you need to go to the missing poster in front of Kate's house, exit the game, do it 2 more times, but in the newer version, you go to the swings, play the piano until the text message pops up, activate the radio, grab the flashlight, then go to the poster. Once there, you'll be sent back to the main menu, and playing the game again will send you to Kate's house in the prologue, but it's all glitched and textureless and stuff. You'll have 2 turns of hide and seek. The first round has you trying to find Slenderman, and the second round has you hiding. After being found the second round, you'll be put in the backyard, and Slenderman will appear as you begin to catch fire. Trying to play the game again will just result in a void and an instant jump scare from Slenderman, with the message asking you to end this. It feels like there's something here in terms of the story, but I just can't put anything together. So, on to the newest level. The final and newest level is called Nightmare. This level is set entirely before the main Slender game and has you playing as Charles Mason, Charlie's father, and you're experiencing these hallucinations about Charlie. First, you're in a basement and see Charlie outside the window, already a proxy. However, you pass out and wake up inside of a hospital. Inside the hospital, you go around and experience more hallucinations about Charlie and see brief visions of Slenderman too. After getting out, you see Charlie crying by a tree, and approaching him wakes you up back at the beginning of the hospital. Only this time, there are messages written along the wall telling you to cleanse your sin and purify it with fire. As fire erupts around you, Charles wakes up in his basement with Slenderman stalking behind him as we see Charles Mason die from smoke inhalation. I could give this level the same criticism that Escape had, but not only are we in a new original setting, but there's also some stories here about like this weird black substance in Charlie's blood, and that the doctor trying to like research it killed himself, so it seems like Slender's influence was in Charlie long before he was taken. And I mean, hey, it is also nice to see that it may not have been an accident that killed Charles like was told to us, but actually the work of Slenderman. I'm just gonna say this level is great, and it just feels and plays so much like the other levels in the game that you really couldn't tell it was made 10 years later. The effective jump scares, the good lore tidbits that give you more insight as to why Charlie may have been taken by Slenderman, and some really spooky segments. The scariest part was having to go through the flooded basement with Charlie chasing you. I'm hoping that they make the other two bonus levels that were promised nearly 2 years ago, because this one was great to play through and I would really like some extra Slender content. With the main game and level dissection finally done, let's get on to the full story behind this game, starting from the very beginning. So, I previously said that we were going to go over the entire backstory and lore of this game, and that's what this section is going to be about. I'm going to go to how Slenderman began to haunt Oakside Park, talk about all the disappearances, and then concisely tell the story and lore of the main game we went over in a more easy to follow manner. So let's begin. Our story begins at the Matheson homestead. A woman by the name of Frida Matheson was read a book by her mother that you can find in the game titled Granny Richer's Big Book of Stories. She would be read that book every single night. However, one of the stories in this book told the tale of a tall man with no face who would take children and turn them into his pawns. Time goes by, and two of the Mathesons write letters talking about a group of them playing hide and seek in the cellar, but not to tell Patricia, since she will go and tell the parents about it, and presumably they will not be allowed to play hide and seek down there anymore. A long time passes between these events, and now Frida is a grandmother herself, and her family has moved to Oakside Park, and as they're all unpacking in their new home, she ends up finding the old storybook and remembers the old story about the tall figure with no face her mother used to tell her and her sister about. Curious, Frida Matheson performs a ritual to try and learn more about the creature, but it goes horribly wrong as this creature ends up hurting and haunting the family, eventually taking one of them, Patricia Matheson. Rose Matheson later writes about this in her diary, and that the rest of the family is convinced that Patricia just ran off to the sunflowers again, while she knows that something more sinister is at play here. Rose turns out to be one of the kids that would play hide and seek in the cellar, and she talks about how she and the other kids have seen this tall, faceless figure, and that he would watch them play hide and seek. She also reveals that she saw Patricia follow this man into the forest and disappear with the creature. Her diary entry ends with her being angry that her mother isn't listening to her and wondering when Patricia will come home. Unfortunately, instead of Patricia coming home, another Matheson is taken by Slenderman. This time, it's a boy by the name of Walter Matheson. We then shift focus to Maggie Matheson, and she has written a note we can uncover in the game, where she talks about how her father is making all the kids pray every night, but she thinks this is useless and home life is so miserable since Walter and Patricia ran away. She also laments about how Rose and Frida have gone mad, thinking a demon is what took away the two kids. Eventually, the grief and madness gets to Frida, and she comes to the conclusion that Slenderman only appears and haunts to those who actively know about his existence. So to put a stop to it all, Frida burns down the Matheson family house, with everyone trapped inside, hoping to put a stop to Slenderman once and for all. However, as fate would have it, not everyone died in that fire. Few members of the family remained and continued the bloodline, allowing Slenderman to watch and wait in the background. Some generations later, we follow the story of Charlie, Diane, and Charles Matheson Jr. Soon, a hiker went missing in the park, and fearing it was a hungry bear, park rangers tried and failed to track it down. More notes in the game reveal that campers complained about the noise of children playing outside the tents at night, but no children were ever seen or reported to the park rangers, making it likely that these were previous victims of Slenderman and a foreshadowing to the fate of Charlie Matheson Jr. While Frida did burn down the old Matheson family house long ago, the old homestead was still up and suitable to visit, and that's exactly where Charles would take his wife and son for frequent picnics. It was on one of these picnics where Charlie would stumble upon old drawings and notes about the supposed demon that was haunting Frida and her family, now unfortunately putting little old Charlie right in Slenderman's sights. It's also implied that Charlie drew some of these pictures of the family burning with Slenderman in the background, and found the old storybook that the grandma would read to the children. He also may have been one of the kids to go play hide and seek, since he also hangs out in the old cellar where you try and find gas for the silo. One day on the beach while the Mathesons were having a picnic, however, Charlie was lured away by the sound of bells and noises, which led him to a part of a toy train buried in the sand. Collecting this toy train would continue the noises at an increased intensity, where he would continue to find more parts of it, like a trail of breadcrumbs. Eventually, the toy train led him into the woods, where he was lost and unable to find his way back. Fearing for his safety, his parents began to call out to him, unknowing to the fact that Charlie couldn't even hear them. Making his own way back, though, Charlie realized that he was stuck in the forest, where Slenderman would claim him as his own and turn him into one of his proxies. Sometime later, Now, I know previously that I said that these might have been the survivors of the homestead fire, but they weren't all of them. There was another family in that photo that went by the last name Hayes, and if you remember from the main game, there was a character who had a mom with the name of Beth Hayes. That's right, one of the other survivors of this homestead fire was Beth Hayes and her daughter named Kate. Kate was a resident of Oakside Park and used to go ghost hunting in the woods with her friend CR. They would go around at night and shine their flashlights in the woods and pretend to get scared by whatever their imagination would come up with. It was on one of these trips that they would stumble upon Slenderman, their lives changing forever. After the traumatic experience, Kate and CR would slowly push the memory out of their minds, forgetting it almost entirely. Sometime later, CR would learn about Charles Matheson and his missing son Charlie Jr. These visits and meetings with Charles never went well, always ending with CR being chased off of his property. Shortly after that, Charles Matheson Jr. would end up perishing in a fire while suffering from smoke inhalation, dying in his basement. And after learning about the fire that killed Charles, CR felt bad about not being able to help the man find peace during life, so he would make it his goal to find closure to Charlie so that maybe he could find peace in death. This leads to CR going to the old Matheson homestead, where he learns about everything that happened to the Matheson family, finding evidence of the supernatural happenings, pictures of the family in the fire, and something following him. CR search ends up leading him into the church, where he finds notes and the storybook from the Matheson family. He isn't able to stay long before a proxified Charlie attacks him, and CR is forced to flee the homestead. After this event, CR writes to Kate, explaining that the reason Charlie went missing was because he saw something that he was never supposed to see. After this event, however, they stop communicating for a while until Kate's mother, Beth Hayes, dies. Following this, CR and Kate begin to contact each other more frequently, and as their connection got more frequent, so did Slenderman's appearances to the two of them. Kate and CR begin to reminisce about their adventures in the woods together, but this only brought back the memories and trauma of their encounter with Slenderman, which wasn't helped by CR's doctor saying that trying to encounter their trauma together would help them get rid of it. This suggestion did the exact opposite for them, and while out in the woods, CR confesses his feelings for Kate, causing a rift to part the two of them. CR lashes out the rejection, and the two of them split up and go their separate ways. While on the way home, CR hears what he thinks is Kate and goes to her aid, only to find no one. He soon realizes that he's lost and tries to find his way home, but falls down a hill and becomes unconscious. Waking up in some tall grass, he makes his way back to Kate's house, where he tries and fails to get her attention from a window, soon leaving. He ends up writing another letter to Kate apologizing for everything and asking to see her again. Kate, angered by this letter, throws it away in the trash. However, after this one, she gets another letter, much more creepy, from CR telling her that the woods are beautiful and that she should come out and see the beauty. Kate goes out into the woods trying to find CR, but is instead met by something much more sinister. She eventually gets lost and is hunted by Slenderman, which starts to level Genesis. Forced to collect all 8 different pages, Kate goes around the forest and begins to find each page, until after getting all 8, is confronted by Slenderman, saying that he has a plan for her. Sometime later, CR writes to Kate about how he's worried and hasn't heard from her in a while. Fed up with the waiting, CR goes to Kate's mom's house to look for her, but is unable to locate her until he goes into the park where he finds her unconscious with a broken video camera and a backpack full of weird drawings. Kate is taken to the hospital, where CR leaves her a note telling her to contact him as soon as she wakes up. When Kate wakes up, she begins scribbling about he was after her, and that she should have listened to someone, and that her letters end with her writing, "Help me." CR and Kate soon write to each other again, but he's concerned with how close the house is to the woods, and offers to take Kate somewhere safer. As Kate is reading this note from CR is losing his mind about how he needs to die before this thing catches him, and he's sorry for whatever part of this is his fault. It seems CR has finally connected the dots that these recent experiences are connected to their shared childhood trauma. CR burns his house down and goes to meet Kay in the street of her mom's house, and they both go to the radio tower seen in the main game. CR continues to go crazy, writing about how he's sorry for everything and that it's all his fault, but he knows how to fix all this. At the radio tower, CR reveals to Kate that they can get rid of everything, their trauma, their hauntings, all of it, by cleansing themselves, which is just fancy talk for burning themselves alive. Kate is understandably freaked out by this and runs away back to home. Kate, after making her way back home, starts to record herself drawing and scribbling the pages she remembers from the woods, until she is visited by Slenderman. Freaked out by this confrontation, she jumps out of her window and runs off into Oakside Park, where she leaves the 8 pages for Lauren to help her find her. But unfortunately, Kate is captured by Slenderman, her fate unknown at the moment, as is CR's. And that is all of the information I have to share about Slender The Arrival. After what I just went through with Kay and CR, we already went through the game and we know how the story goes. Lauren ends up coming in, suffering from Slenderman, and ends up dying at the hates of a proxified Kate, and CR burned himself alive. It was honestly really fun to go back through this game. I miss playing this game. I didn't realize there was so much hidden lore in this game. It's really fun. But anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you for watching my passion project that took me the good amount of 3 months to make. I hope you all liked it. Be sure to like and subscribe. Here are my socials. I'm going to start plugging these as well. And until the next video, I'll catch you all on the flip side. See ya.